Hello, this is Kyra. In this video, we're going to be talking about Google Drive. Google Drive is a file storage system that does exist in the cloud. So with Google Drive, you're able to save your files, whether those be documents, images, any file type really you can think of, and you can access them on any of your devices. I love Google Drive because it includes many free tools such as Docs that we're going to be talking about that come to you for free as a user of Google. So if you have a Gmail account, you have access to everything I'm going to be going over today at no cost to you. Just like your Gmail account is free, these services are free too. If you do not have Microsoft Word or a license for the Microsoft products, this is going to be a great option for you as well because you don't have to pay for it. Now, if you're already using Microsoft Word, I can understand that this may not be the right solution for you, but still hang along and watch this video. You may learn something and it may come to help you out in the end. So here I am at google.com. When you are logged into Google, there's always going to be a little icon in the corner up here. You can see the letter K in a purple, K for Kyra. If you have multiple Google accounts, you need to be able to switch between them, and you can do that using this button. So if you have a personal Gmail account and you have a business Gmail account, you want to make sure that your business files are stored on your business Gmail account. So make sure that you're not going into Google Drive with your personal, because next thing you know, your files could be all jumbled across multiple accounts. So when you click on your name here, it's going to pop up this menu and you can see this show more accounts. I'm able to click on this and switch to a different account if I wanted to, but I am currently on the account that I want to use for this demonstration today. So over here in Google, you'll notice Gmail, images, and then this icon with the 9 dots. So these 9 dots is your Google Apps. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. This is how you get to your Google Drive. You'll see there's lots of apps built into Google. Most of these things, if not all of them, are available at no cost or maybe possibly a very low minimal cost. But for us, we're going to Google Drive today for this training. Google Drive is the triangle icon with the word drive here. Again, this is your cloud storage file system. I'm going to go ahead and click on Drive and it's going to take me there. Okay, so I have put some things in here for the purpose of this demonstration today in our training video. But before we start, I want to go over a little bit of navigation here in Google Drive. I'm currently on the home page. I personally don't use the home page because it does list the files in order of when they were last modified. This can be really helpful if you're editing the same document over and over again. Maybe it's a quote that you have in process or in progress. But I'm going to go to My Drive over here on the left-hand side. This shows it to you just like your computer file storage would show it to you at the top level with the folders and the files, okay? So if you prefer this view like I do, you can see here, change your start page. Currently it's set to home. You can change it anytime. I'm going to change it to My Drive. Again, if you prefer this view where it's organized the way you organized it, you may want to change this setting as well. It's just as simple as clicking a button. So these are my files here. I will go over a couple other ones over here in this left menu. Computers, you can sync your files on your computer to your Google Drive in your cloud storage. Okay, that's a great feature there if you're looking to save things in the cloud. And then you can see shared with me. If anyone shares files with you, you can find them there. Your recent files, your starred files, etc. Okay. Now, one other thing to mention here before we continue on is that here in the Drive, you have two options for how to view the files, okay? So right here, it's in the list layout. I can actually switch it to the grid layout. This is just optional. It's whatever you prefer. But for the purposes of this training, I'm going to use the list layout, but just know if you prefer the icons in the grid, that's available to you over here at the top right-hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and close out this little sidebar here so we have a little bit more room. Okay, so I want to go over the folders that I've created in my Google Drive. This is how I have my business Google Drive set up. Now, this is for test purposes, so there's a lot less information in these folders than what I have for my business, but this is a good way to get started with your business and your organization system. So I have my clients folder, which I'll be going over here shortly. Maybe you have a file for forms. So if you have multiple qualification forms for your clients, for example, maybe you have a cruise form, maybe you have a general form, maybe you have a domestic inquiry form for your clients. You can have a forms folder to store all those forms together. And you probably want to create some survey forms for when your clients return home as well. Mock bookings, I'm sure you're creating lots of mock bookings. This is a great place to store not only the mock booking, but maybe also where you found that price, right? It's important for you to know the vendor that you used on that mock booking, the search criteria that you entered in order to get that price. So you want to store your notes on your mock bookings as well as the final mock booking that you create, whatever format you choose to do that in, okay? So mock bookings is going to be very useful for you. You also may have someone reach out to you months after you post a mock booking because that just happens to be when they see it. It would help you out to know where you found that price. Even though the price is probably not relevant anymore months later, it still can give you a good place to start if someone has interest in that in the future. So you have your notes folder. This could be notes from trainings you're attending, training videos you're watching, maybe supplier webinars, maybe possibly your specialist certifications that you're completing. You probably have a lot of notes for your business. If you like to store them electronically, you can create your own folder for that. And I highly recommend it because I know when you take notes in a notebook, it does pile up very, very quickly, especially if you're a note taker. So then I also have a sample quotes folder. If I create a quote that I really love and I think it came out great, I may save it in my sample quotes folder so that if I have a very similar quote to do in the future, maybe I don't have to change so many things out. So for example, a cruise quote. Different cruise lines, your quote may look a little different. So maybe you save a sample quote for each cruise line. When you have a client request Royal Caribbean, you go and you work off of the Royal Caribbean sample, okay? That's what I personally do when I create something that I love. I want to be able to reuse it over and over and over again. And then these down here are just loose files that are located here in the Google Drive. I'm going to skip the images for now, but this is a credit card authorization form. I have put my credit card authorization form into a document here. I'll show you how I'm going to make a copy of it in a little bit later in this training, but this is already there. It's laid out for me. I also have my quote template. If you've seen my video on creating a quote with Google Drive, this is a template that I came up with for that training and that I use personally for every single client that I can duplicate and move however I need. So let's go back to these images here. So when you have files, when you create a file, it's going to show up in whatever folder you were when you created it. Let's see here. I have business logo.png. Okay, so this is just an image of my logo. And this is a great thing that you would want to store in your Google Drive. One thing is images in particular, you can pull them from Google Drive into different files very easily. Okay, that's covered in the Google Docs video. But there are two ways to move files when you're talking about Google Drive. The first one is to click and drag it, okay? But I would like to put this in an images folder. So let's create that images folder real quickly here. So I'm going to go over here to this new button in the top left-hand corner with the giant plus, okay? So let's go ahead and click on this. There are a lot of types. I'm going to come back to new folder, but you'll see you can upload a file or you can upload a folder. These are from your computer onto your Google Drive. Now you can create Google Docs. This is the equivalent to Microsoft Word. It is a document editing program. Google Sheets is a spreadsheet software similar to Microsoft Excel. You may use spreadsheets to track your clients, track payment dates, track your commissions. These spreadsheets can be very, very helpful. You can use them however you like. Google Slides is like PowerPoint. It is a presentation software. Some agents will actually create their client quotes using something like this in a slideshow format. So you have that option for you. I also use slides for trainings, just so you can get an idea of what I'm using it for. Google Forms, I have a video covering Google Forms as well. This is just a form collection software. So let's go back up to the top. I'm going to create a new folder, okay? When I create this new folder, I'm going to name it Images. And it's going to pop up in this folder that I'm in, which is the My Drive folder. And I can tell that because it says My Drive at the top. So this is my highest level folder here, Images. So let's go back to this business logo. I'd like to store it in an Images folder here. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it into Images just like that. And that is one way that you can move a file. Now you'll see I have a mock booking for Cabo in here. Let's go over the second way to move a file, which is to right click on it. This menu will pop up. We're going to go to Organize and we're going to go to Move. So when I go to move this way, it is going to start with the suggested file locations that I might want to put it in. The suggested folders, okay? I can also go to all locations. So if, for example, your folder isn't showing up in suggested, you may need to go to all locations, go to My Drive here, click on this, and it will allow you to navigate through. So here I am in My Drive, looks very similar to what we were just looking at, okay? I much prefer to move my files this way, and I'd like to move it to the Mock Bookings folder. So I'm gonna hover over Mock Bookings and click Move. And that is a second way that you can move a file, okay? If I only have to move a file one level, I'm going to drag and drop it. But if I have nested folders and I need to move my file a couple layers down, then I'm going to use the right click, organize and move method for that. So let's go into the clients folder. I'd like to show you how I organize my clients. I have two subfolders here, which are the booked clients who have made a reservation, they've placed a deposit on their trip, or they've already traveled. And then I have my quoted clients, right? We know not all clients you provide a quote to are going to book, but also when you start working with a client, I usually put them in my quoted clients folder and then move them to book clients once they make their reservation. This just helps me keep organized. The clients who I know are potential repeat clients, they've booked once, they've booked twice, maybe they are going to book a second time, keep them a little separate from the clients that I'm currently working on to win their business. So I'm going to go into the quoted clients here and show you the way that I keep this organized is I create a folder for every single month. Okay, I list it by the year and then the month. I do the year first just for sorting purposes because it does go in alphabetical numerical order here. 2023, I have the 12 folders in here for every month of 2023, and I put the client into the month that I was working with them in, okay? So that way I keep it a little more organized. This way I don't have tons and tons of folders. It's a good idea to create subfolders that you can group similar things together in. This is one way to do it. We will talk about searching this Google Drive towards the end of this training, and you'll see how it does come to help you out. So here's John Smith, okay? When I have a client, this is how I name their folder, last name, comma, first name, so Smith, comma, John, because then it will sort by their last name. It's just easier for me to do it this way. And usually the last name is going to be the family name, right? If other people are traveling with them, chances are their last name is probably Smith too. So it will help me find them that way. So I'm going to go into John Smith's folder. So here I have John Smith, I have a notes file and I have a quote file. I recommend you have a notes file for every single one of your clients. You can see these are Google Docs. I can tell by the blue document icon. But in my notes file here, I have things like, when did I call the client? What did they say when we were on the phone? I may copy and paste their form entries. So if I sent them a qualification form and they filled it out, I might copy paste what they put into my notes document. If I do some research, maybe I checked multiple vendors. I'm going to note which vendor parameters I looked at, what price I found, what search criteria I used. I may include screenshots as well. Okay, so this is going to just help you keep track of the process, because as you have more and more clients, you're going to start to forget these things. So that's where the notes document comes in handy. Now here we have the quote, okay? So this is just an example quote that I have done for a different client that we're using for John Smith here in our training example. So here is the quote. One thing I want to go over here is that this is a living document, okay? Google Docs, you can edit it and change it anytime. I prefer to send my clients PDF files for any type of document. I think PDFs look the most professional and they're not editable in the same way that this document is. So I can actually convert this document into a PDF. I'm going to go to File, Download, and then you'll see I have quite a few options here, but I'm going to download this as a PDF here. You can see it's popping up in my downloads up there at the top. So I have downloaded a copy of this quote. Now, I like to save PDF copies of my quotes as well, because like I said, I could go into that Google Doc and make any modifications. In order to remember what I sent the client, I like to store the PDF, okay? That's just the reason why I do it. Now I'm going to upload that into here. Now, reminder, there's two ways to upload files to your Google Drive. The first one is to go to New, File Upload, and pick the file from your computer's file system, okay? Now, for purposes of this training, I'm going to show you the second method. Now, you won't see my downloads folder, but it is open here. I am going to drag and drop the file into here, and you'll see the upload pop up, and you'll see it's also listed as a PDF. So now I have the PDF version of the quote saved in this little Google Drive file here. Also notice the way I have named my files. I always use last name dash destination dash what is the file, whether it be the notes, the quote, the credit card authorization, etc. Okay, helps me stay organized. It also helps me keep things in alphabetical order, and it is going to help me when I need to search for John Smith in the future. So let's go back to our main folder. So you'll see here we're in quoted clients, and then we're in the Smith, John folder, but you'll notice these three dots here. This is one way to navigate back. So you can see the way the file system is my drive to clients, to quoted clients, to John Smith. I can go here and click my drive, and it will take me all the way back to my top folder. So let's say I presented this quote to John Smith. He was very happy and he is ready to book his trip. And I need to send him a credit card authorization form. So here it is in my drive. I've already created a template. I'll show you real quick what that looks like, but it's all filled out here. All I have to do is put in the pertinent information. It should not be on 2 pages. There we go. And this is just something I created. It's how I like to send my credit card authorization forms. So I'm going to make a copy of this file because I'm going to make a copy just for John Smith. This is my template. This is the one that I'm going to copy and paste every single time I need a credit card authorization form, but I need one that I can edit for John Smith. So I'm going to right click on credit card authorization form, just like we did to make a move. And I'm going to go down to make a copy. It'll take just a second to create this copy. It's going to go into the same folder, and it's always going to start with the name copy of. That is how Google Drive does it. This is how I know this is my copy. Now I'm going to move this into John Smith's folder by right-clicking on the copy, going down again to organize. I'm going to go to move because we know John Smith is a few folders down. He does come up under suggested, okay, because I was just in that folder and they suggest, they're thinking that this may be where I want to move it to. Remember, if it doesn't show up here, you can always go to all locations and search through your drive in order to get there. So here I am, John Smith is where I want to move it to, and I'm going to click the word move, and it's going to move there. Now I'm going to navigate back to John Smith, quoted clients, John Smith, and here is the copy. So I'm going to rename this file, okay? Let me close these things out up here. There are 2 ways to rename the file. The first one is to open it up and rename up here at the top, okay? That's one way you can do it. The other way is to right click and go down to rename. So keeping with the standard that I use, I'm going to rename this Smith. He's going to Las Vegas, and the credit card authorization form. And there we go. I created a copy of my credit card authorization form template. I can fill in what I need to, download it as a PDF, and send that PDF to John Smith for his signature as well as his identification. So I'm going to go all the way back up to my drive again, clicking the three dots and going to my drive. This is again my main folder. And I'm going to go over my booked clients folder so you can see how I organize that by going to clients, booked clients. Okay. Now I only have one in here for example. Okay. Again, this is just a sample that I put together for the purposes of this training. Now, as you get more and more clients, you may need to create subfolders, right? Maybe you need to create a folder based on what letter their last name starts with, or possibly what year they traveled or last traveled with you as their travel agent. But let's go over Jane Doe here. Jane Doe has 2 trips here. So as my clients, become repeat clients, right? That's our goal. Once a client for life. You'll see here that Jane in 2023 had a trip to Cancun, and she also is planning a trip for 2024 as a Caribbean cruise. So once I start having more trips, I'm going to create more folders inside my folder for Jane Doe so that I can stay organized, right? They may have multiple trips in a year, whatever I need to do to keep things separate. So let's go into the Cancun folder here. So just so you can see, now that Jane Doe has traveled and has finished the process with me, these are the files that I have, right? We went over with John Smith, the notes, the quote, of course, the PDF version of the quote for, longevity. I have a folder for credit card authorization forms. So I'm going to keep the credit card authorization form version that I sent, right? Without the signature. And then when Jane, in this case, John, whoever it may be, whoever the client is, when they sign that credit card authorization form, I am going to move it into this folder as well. So I have that form and I have the signed form. There are many cases where when you are working on a trip, you will have multiple credit card authorization forms. That's why I have kept it separate here, just because if in this case, maybe Jane made 3 payments on this trip. It was 1 reservation. She made 3 payments. That means I would have 3 signed forms from Jane. So this helps keep it separate. I think the less files you see at once is the best option because it helps you stay organized, but you don't lose things. Then I also have a folder for identification photos, okay? Maybe Jane is traveling with her spouse and her 3 children, okay? That's 5 people. They went to Cancun. That was international. Well, that means I probably have 5 passport photos, or at least I better have 5 passport photos because they're traveling internationally and there's 5 members of this family. So I keep the identification photos separate as well because that's something that can just all of a sudden cloud this up. I should also have files in here for the travel itinerary for Jane. Maybe there's additional reservation documents, those kinds of things I can store here as well. And that really helps me to stay organized. So I'm going to go back to my drive. Now you can go to the 3 dots and click on my drive to go back there, but you can also use the navigation on the left-hand side. So this time, let's go ahead and click on my drive. We are back to our top folder here. So one last thing I want to show you before we wrap this training up is the search feature. So this is really helpful for me, and the whole reason I name my files the way I do is so that I can search and find them easily. So let's say I know I need to work on John Smith. I can just type in Smith in my search, and what do you know? All these things pop up. If I click enter, it will pull up all the search results, and these are all the files that I have with the word Smith in the title. And here you go. If I needed to get to John Smith's folder and I didn't want to go through my navigation, I can search Smith and I can just double click and here I am in John Smith's folder. So that's the whole purpose of the naming convention. Of course, you should create a naming convention that works best for you. Now, last thing I want to talk about here is the storage aspect of Google Drive, okay? This is stored in the cloud. You can access these files on any of your devices. I recommend the Google Drive app if you have a tablet or a smartphone and you want to access those files on the go. They do have a Google Drive app. for you. But over here on the left-hand side, we haven't talked about storage, okay? Since this is provided for free by Google, just know that you have limited space, okay? Limited being, in this case, 15 gigabytes on this account. That is actually a lot of space. It is going to last you a very long time. Now, there may come a point where you run out of space, right? If you are storing lots of photos, if you have videos from clients that you're storing, or maybe videos you've personally taken on your travel that you're storing for use on social media, those types of files take up a little bit more space than your Google Docs and your PDFs. So if you ever find yourself running out of space, you can pay for more, clicking the Get More Storage. Okay, they have multiple plans. Okay, it is actually not that expensive to add more storage on Google Drive. Just so you know, if you ever exceed your 15 gigabytes after you've been a very successful travel agent, you can always purchase more. For $199 a month, you can get 100 gigabytes, and that ought to last you a very, very long time in your business. So just note that that option is there for you as well. So I hope you learned something in this training video today. I personally love Google Drive. It is such a handy tool. It keeps me organized and it lets me have my files on any device that I may be on at the moment. So I hope there was something that was of value to you in this training, and thank you so much for watching.